Hello, and welcome back to X-Files-athon. Last time, we took a look at an episode from Season 7, entitled X-Cops. In this video, we're going back in time to Season 5, Episode 3, entitled Usual Suspects. No, not that usual suspects. These usual suspects. The Lone Gunman. Speaking about going back in time, this is a prequel episode that not only explains how they met Mulder, but also how they themselves became a trio. The Lone Gunmen, for those of you that don't know, are the group that often tip off and give Mulder evidence of government and alien conspiracies. They consist of Byers, the suit-wearing ex-government employee, played by Bruce Harwood, a guest actor for various shows and most famous for X-Files. Frohickey, the one that wants to bone Scully, played by Tom Braidwood, another one mainly known for X-Files, but also has other credits. And finally, Langley, the long hair of the group, played by Dean Haglund. Again, has some other credits, but is mainly known for X-Files. Poor guys, hit their peak. Wait, what is that? Is that a spin-off? Yes, the Lone Gunmen got their own show in 2001, created by Chris Carter, Frank Spotnitz, John Scheiben, and Vince Gilligan. It lasted only one season due to bad ratings. Also, it was 2001, and the first episode was about a plot to hijack a plane and fly it into the World Trade Center.
You said they intend to bring us down in the middle of New York City?
Seriously, what the fuck? Speaking of Vince Gilligan, this episode is another one written by him, so you know it will be good. Yeah, bitch! The director is Kim Manners, who has a boatload of directing credits, primarily for X-Files and Supernatural. Apparently this episode is a product of time constraints, as David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson were filming the X-Files movie at the time. So Carter had Vince Gilligan write an episode centering around the gunman. He originally wrote it about nanites, and Carter turned it down, instead suggesting an episode about how they came to be. Vince rewrote it, and here we are. So, with all that out of the way, let's delve into the episode. The episode starts out with them letting us know that it's 1989. Not that far from when the show started in 93. We cut to SWAT agents pulling up to a warehouse and rushing inside. After looking around for a bit, one of them starts hearing someone moaning and investigates. It turns out to be Mulder, who is rolling on the ground and mumbling about aliens. Another SWAT guy is investigating and finds three men hiding behind some boxes. He tells them to stop, and of course, it's the gunman. They get arrested as Mulder just lays on the ground and screams, "They're here!" We get the intro and cut back to the guys sitting in jail bickering at one another. Byers gets called out of the cell to talk to a detective about what happened. The detective is played by a man called Richard Belzer, known for various cop shows and his stand-up, along with some small roles in movies like Scarface or The Groove 2. According to the promo for this episode, it's supposed to be a crossover with his character from another cop show.
So what I'm looking at here is a warehouse break-in with nothing stolen. A shootout but no guns. Lots of blood but no bodies. And an FBI agent likes to take off all his clothes and talk about space aliens.
To be honest, neither of those things are out of the normal for him. Byers explains that he is a federal employee working for the FCC who was attending an electronics show. We then flash back to that morning with him at the convention. I just want to point out that in a prequel episode, they frame the episode with flashbacks. A prequel story within a prequel story, if you will. So Byers isn't doing so hot at the convention, with people ignoring him and calling him a narc. Suddenly, a woman walks up to him and stares at him. He offers her a button, and she just walks away. He leaves to look for her because
There was just something about her.
Frohickey and Langley try to sell her on each other's bootleg cable, and yet again she just walks away. Byers turns a corner and bumps into her, knocking her stuff down. He helps pick it up and sees a picture of a little girl. They have a conversation where she explains that her daughter has been taken by her boyfriend and she needs someone to hack into the ARPANET to try to find her daughter.
By the way, my name's John.
Holly. It's nice to meet you.
Holly. Just like the sugar.
Yeah. Just like the sugar.
This isn't a scam at all. Holly, as we'll call her right now, is played by Signe Coleman, known for The Young and the Restless and this episode of X-Files. Byers agrees to help and tells his buddy that it's his turn on the Xbox. It takes a little convincing, but he gets into the secret government internet and looks up the name of her daughter, Susan Medeski, which gives him an encrypted file. Again, definitely not a scam. They print out the file, and halfway through she hides and explains that her boyfriend is here, who in fact turns out to be Mulder. Damn, can't believe they made him a child kidnapper. They decide to get the help of Frohickey. He sympathizes with her, but asks her,
I don't understand. Why don't you just kick this guy's ass?
What?
No. I just want these pages decoded. Can you do that?
this man has her child kidnapped supposedly, and she doesn't want you to beat him. Again, no red flags. They decided they still need to kick Mulder's ass and stalk him from a distance when he walks away into a back hallway. They follow him in, and Mulder comes out from behind them like Batman.
What's up, fellas? You looking for somebody?
He questions them and asks if they have seen Holly, and they say no. They walk away and Mulder answers the phone. Rumor has it Vince Gilligan himself had the prop guys find the biggest phone they could to try to fit with the time period. They go back to the booth, she is gone, and Byers' FCC buddy is getting taken to gamer jail.
All I did was play Dig Dug. Just stand back. I didn't hack into anybody's computer.
Byers tries to confess when Frohickey pulls him into the booth to tell him snitches get stitches. They decide that with the FBI agents, there must be something fishy here. Frohickey figures they need to hack into the FBI database to figure out who this woman is, and that he knows a guy. We cut to Langley betting on D&D when they show up to ask him for help. He tells Frohickey to say it.
Your kung fu is the best.
They hack into the FBI database, look up Mulder, and get some pretty average results. They look up Holly and get no results, and finally they look up Susan Modesky and get this.
She's Suzanne Modesky?
Employee at the Army Advanced Weapon Facility at Whitestone, New Mexico.
White Corps.
Oh man, look at this. Says here she blew up one of their labs, killed 4 people, including the MP who tried to stop her at the gate.
Subject Modesky is considered unstable and delusional. Intellectually brilliant, yet prone to confabulation and fits of violent behavior.
Psychotic and profoundly paranoid.
Armed and extremely dangerous. Do not approach. Call immediately for backup.
Oh, fuck. Susan walks in and they stand there scared as hell. She explains that she was a biochemist and that she didn't blow up anything. She helped create
The ergotamine histamine gas.
Ergotamine?
EH for short. It's an aerosolized gas, which in small doses causes anxiety and paranoia in its subject.
Paranoia. Gotcha.
She explains forces in the government want to test it on the public, and she wants to let the public know. The only problem is she needs proof. They look like they aren't believing her, so she starts going schizo on them and brings up the JFK assassination and how Bibles are tracking devices. They obviously still don't believe her, so she says she's gonna prove it to them, if they just help her decipher the code. Then a gun falls out of her purse. Jeez, lady, that gun pickup isn't helping your case. That's pretty creepy. They decipher the code and get the date of a biological attack and the location where the gas is being stored. They also get some information about her dentist being watched, so she pulls a total recall and rips one of her teeth out. The guys examine it and there's a little wire sticking out of it. They go to the warehouse and find the bioweapon, which is distributed through asthma inhalers. Shortly after, Mulder shows up and tells them that they're all under arrest. In the middle of him arresting them, 2 other people show up and try to take Susan. Mulder tells them to identify themselves and they start shooting. He hides behind the boxes full of the asthma containers, and when it gets shot, it makes the gas pour out. Mulder strips off his shirt and starts rolling around on the ground. The 2 guys are about to kill him when Susan shoots them both and runs away. Byers hollers for her when even more guys come in, this time with protective suits. They scan the area, and after it's clear, walks in a familiar face. Mr. X, an integral character of the show from season 2 onward. He pretty much takes over the role of Deep Throat. He is played by Steven Williams, who is known for many shows such as 21 Jump Street, LA Heat, Supernatural, and even Yellowstone, with ass tons of movie credits as well. He gives the gunman a look before he goes over to Mulder. He tells his guys to
sanitize it.
They start loading it all up and Mulder hallucinates they're aliens. Byers starts asking questions and Mr. X puts a gun to his head. Byers continues to berate Mr. X, so he gives them their name.
John F. Kennedy? Dallas?
I heard it was a lone gunman.
He leaves them there and we cut back to the interrogation room, where we're all caught up. The detective calls bullshit on his story and sends him back to their cell. Frohickey and Langley call him out for thinking with his dick, and he tells them that he didn't do it for the woman, but for the truth. And he says if there was a way he could still help her, he would. They're let out of jail, and on the way, they hear that Mulder's car she stole was found near a train station. They quickly put together that she didn't take a train and instead went to the newspaper near the train station to tell her story. They find her immediately, and she tells them that the newspaper didn't believe her. She says thanks for the help and gives Byers a smooch. Did it for the truth, huh? A phone rings nearby, she starts going schizo, and almost immediately gets picked up by a black car. X gives the gunman a drive-by glare, and they're left standing there in confusion. They go back to the convention and pout. Mulder walks up to them and wants to know what happened. And that's the end of the episode. Like I talked about with the last episode, a lone gunman backstory isn't anything that you would think we need, but the execution makes it a borderline classic. This episode presents an interesting backstory that fits not only the gunman, but also Mulder as well. He is way more restrained in this episode, and you can tell that he was way less involved in conspiracy theories before the events that happened with the gunman. I also like the way the members of the group aren't immediately convinced when she tells her story, and are skeptical the whole way through until the warehouse. It shows that they too weren't true conspiracy theorists until they witnessed this incident. The story with Susan is pretty interesting with the government bioweapon, and the way they are going to distribute it through asthma inhalers is a pretty interesting concept. The other stuff with her and Byers is alright, I guess. I don't really care for it, but it only takes up about 5 minutes of the actual episode, so I can tolerate it. The episode explains how the lone gunmen meet and how they meet Mulder, but they still leave some things off the table, like how Byers met Frohickey or how Langley met Frohickey. You can assume that with Langley that they go to the same conventions and always set up their phony cable booths next to each other, leading to the bickering relationship they have with one another. But Byers, I don't know, maybe they met in the food court one time? They definitely both know him as the FCC guy, hence why they call him Nard, so maybe this is just his first true interaction with him. Seeing this episode makes the TV show make more sense, as the group is fun to watch and their bickering is pretty funny. The episode being framed with the detective flashback is pretty neat, but kinda leads to a rushed ending. Mr. X being put in this episode is a good fit and further ties it into the rest of the show. The acting is pretty good overall. Duchovny's good, Hagelin and Braidwood do a good job. Harwood does a pretty good job carrying the story, but I think Coleman is a little weak in spots. Could just be the way they wrote her, but she comes off as robotic in some scenes. Overall, a very good episode. I would have to say a must-watch, especially with the Mulder and Gunman backstory you get. Plus, the bioweapon is interesting. 8 out of 10.